Hello everyone, I am Army Igonoan, a teacher 1 from San Rafael Elementary School and the first reporter of our group to discuss about organizational psychology. Let us first define what is organizational psychology. Organizational psychology or psychology of organizations is the branch of psychology that is responsible for studying the behavior of people in the world of work and organizations. It is an applied science that examines human behavior both individually and at the group and organizational level. Organizational psychology allows describing, explaining, and predicting human behaviors developed in collective environments. It also allows the development of interventions and strategies to solve concrete or global problems of an organization. What are the two main objectives of organizational psychology? Number one, this applied science is used to improve performance and labor productivity, examining the function of organization and detecting the areas to intervene. Number two, organizational psychology is used to increase and enhance the personal development of workers and improve their quality of life in the workplace. The main aspects that this branch of psychology studies about organizations are structure, climate, culture, social system, and process. What is psychology? Psychology is a science that can be applied in different areas. Likewise, the study of human behavior cannot only be applied to individuals in an individual way, but can also be applied in a group way. Delineating the concept of organizational psychology is a somewhat more complex task than it may seem. In general, there is no doubt that it is a science applied to the organizational sphere, but establishing a clear, unambiguous definition is somewhat more confusing. In fact, many authors have proposed different definitions of the concepts of organizational psychology. In order to review the particularities of this branch of psychology, the most important are discussed by Spector, Andy and Kuhn, Blum and Naylor, Sal and Knight, and Fernham. According to Spector in 2002, the concept of organizational and our industrial psychology as a small field of applied psychology that refers to the development and applications of scientific principles in the workplace. 3 years later, Andy and Kuhn reviewed the conceptualization carried out by Spector and reformulated the term organizational psychology as the application of the psychological, the theory, and the research in the labor scenario. These authors also postulated that industrial or organizational psychology went beyond the physical limits of the workplace, influencing many other factors in organizational behavior. According to Blum and Naylor, these authors were among the pioneers in establishing the concept of organizational psychology and defined it as the application or extension of psychological facts and principles to problems that concern human beings working within the context of business and industry. According to Sal and Knight, organizational psychology refers to two main concepts. In the first place, it is the study of the behavior, the thoughts, and the feelings of the human beings as they adapt to the companions, the objectives, and the environment in which they develop professionally. On the other hand, organizational psychology also refers to the use of the above information to maximize the economic and psychological well-being of employees. According to Fernham, organizational psychology is the study of how people are recruited, selected, and socialized in organizations. It also includes other aspects such as the type of reward workers receive, the degree of motivation they present, and the way organizations structures themselves both formally and informally in groups, sections, and teams. What are the differences between organizational psychology and occupational psychology? Organizational psychology and occupational psychology are two terms that are used interchangeably since they refer to two highly similar concepts. In fact, both organizational psychology and occupational psychology are sciences that study the same elements. That is, both are responsible for examining human behavior in the workplace. However, it should be noted that occupational psychology and organizational psychology are not exactly the same, as they differ in the approach and scientific objectives pursued by each. These theories have given rise to the emergence of organizational psychology and allowed to establish their basis and lines of study to follow. What are the theories of organizational psychology? First is the classical rationalist theories. Second, theories of human relationships. Third is the theories of the organization as an open system. What is classical rationalist theories? The classical rationalist theories were developed by Taylor and are characterized by analyzing the productive processes in order to increase efficiency and productivity. Its main mode of operation was based on the development of techniques and methods to normalize production through the decomposition of complex tasks in a set of simple tasks. Example, man is a cog in the machine of efficiency and productivity, and is motivated by fear of hunger and the need for money to survive. Next is the theories of human relationships. Human relations theories try to interpret the changes of the context and the companies, thus discovering the meaning of certain social processes and studying in depth the influence of the work environment on productivity and accidents. Example, man is a social being, thinking, whole and with feelings. Every person needs to be a part of a group and be taken into account so that social recognition and belonging to the group are the main elements to develop their work motivation. Third, theories of the organization as an open system. According to the organization's theories as an open system and the complex and autonomous agent, the organization is a system that interacts constantly with the environment. Example, workers interact with each other to achieve common goals so that the interdependence between individuals of an organization makes any modification of an element may in some way alter all others.
Good day everyone. My name is Laika N. Raceles, Teacher 1 of San Rafael Elementary School, Iriga City Division. My topic is all about the 4 systems and the 5 basic points in the study of organizational psychology. To start with, let me define first what is system or natural system. It is defined as an organization whose participants have a common interest in the survival of the system and who are articulated with collective activities and informal structures. From these early conceptualizations of organizational psychology, organization can be developed and interpreted through different perspectives. The main ones are: first, organizations as closed rational systems; second, organizations as closed natural systems; third, organizations as open rational systems; and fourth, organizations such as open systems and social agents. First, organizations as closed rational systems. Organizations as closed rational systems are characterized by being organizations without people. That is, one only takes into account the organizational aspects of the group of people, but not the individuals that compose it. Organizations as closed rational systems propose precise measures of times, methods, and movements. They have a formal design, division of labor, a unit of command, and a well-established hierarchy. Second, organizations as closed natural systems. These types of organizations are antagonistic to the previous one and can be defined as groups of people without organization. The focus of the studies according to this perspective is more group than individual, and the work behavior is analyzed jointly. The work performance of organizations as closed natural systems is not so linked to psychological or physiological capacities, but to the degree of satisfaction obtained, which in turn will depend on the social treatment received. Third, organization as open rational systems. Organizations as open rational systems can be defined as organizations as social systems. In this case, the organization is an open and complex system in which the people who integrate it make decisions analyzing their environment. This organizational conception was developed from the technological approach, which emphasized the study of the characteristic of the task, the work environment, and individual behavior. Fourth, organizations such as open systems and social agents. The last conceptualization defines the organizations as coalition of opposing groups of interest. It adopts new paradigms in the production of scientific knowledge and questions the assumptions of realism, objectivism, and rationality. In this sense, organizations are interpreted as a collectivity. It takes into account the complexity of the organizations and develops, for the first time, the strategic management of human resources. So those are the 4 systems under organizational psychology. So let's come now to the organizational communication. But let me define what is communication is. It is one of the most relevant elements within the fields of study of organizational psychology. In this sense, organizational psychology postulates different relationships between communication and organizations. First, the organizations defines a communications context. Second, communication is an organizational variable. Third, the symbiosis of communication defines the organization. And last, the characteristics of the organization define the communicative characteristics. Thus, organizational psychology establishes 5 basic points in the study of communication within the organizations. First, characteristic of communication. Second, communicative perspectives. Third, formal communication versus informal communication. First, characteristic of communication. According to the organizational psychology, communication is a dynamic and reciprocal process that allows to transmit and exchange ideas and messages. Communication always travels from an issuer to a receiver and is an indispensable tool to obtain a response or a change within the organization. Second, communication perspective. Within organizational psychology, 3 different communicative perspectives are distinguished: the traditional perspective, the constructionist perspective, and the strategic perspective. Traditional perspective. It interprets communication as any other organizational element. It serves to ensure the implementation and contain only formal communication. Next, constructionist perspective places a special emphasis on the role of language and symbols and establishes that communication is vital to address conflicts. It interprets organizations as a system of shared meanings and defines organization as a system of power and influence. Strategic perspective. It interprets communication as a strategic element. The communicative processes allow to identify the needs, to inform and to implicate the workers, and to transmit the messages, the identity, and the image that is projected. And to our third basic points in the study of communication within the organization, we have formal communication versus informal communication. Formal communication. It is characterized by the use of formal channels. It is a communicative process that can be executed vertically and horizontally. Its main functions is to orient behaviors in presence disadvantages such as saturation or minimization. Second, informal communication. Those communicative processes that work outside the formal channels. It establishes personal relationships and everyday interaction. It is a communicative process that cannot be eliminated and is characterized by confirming, replacing, or modifying the formal communications.
Hello everyone, my name is Pearl Antoinette Paz and I am going to report the 2 main elements of organizational psychology, which are climate and culture. Climate and culture are 2 main elements of organizational psychology. It defines the vast majority of the global characteristics of organizations and establishes their function. Climate and culture are 2 terms that refer to very similar concepts. However, they differ by being examined through different perspectives. What is climate? Climate is a concept that is rooted in psychology. emphasizing the perception of individuals through questionnaires related to statistical variables and quantitative methods. It emphasizes the generalization of results in the population. While culture, on the other hand, is a conceptualization rooted in anthropology, studied by hermeneutic methods, ethnography. The results are interpreted from the perspective of the subject without referring to a population. In this sense, both the climate and the culture is characterized by: first is they try to understand the ways in which members experience organizations. Second, they comprise attitudes, values, and practices that characterize the members of an organization. The third one is they explain the impact of the organization on individuals. Fourth, climate is a measure of the superficial manifestations of culture and is not entirely different from it. And the fifth one is culture determines the climate and it accompanies it as one more component of it. Let's come now to the interventions of organizational psychology. The psychosocial variables that influence the functioning of an organization are many and varied. For this reason, organizational psychology is an applied science that performs a large number of activities. The most important tasks that are carried out from this branch of psychology are: the first one is examine, define, and modify the working environment. Second is to examine the organizational culture and to develop communicative, normative, and interpretative processes that adapt to all the members. Third is develop both the motivation group of the company and the individual motivation of each worker. Fourth is define the professional profiles of each of the workers. The fifth one is to examine the positions and roles that best fit each professional profile. Sixth is develop personnel selection processes according to the specific demands. And the last task that are carried out from this branch of psychology is develop training programs for workers. And that's the end of our report about organizational psychology, its characteristics, theories, and functions. We hope that you learned and gathered a lot of information about organizational psychology in our report. Have a good day, everyone.